What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down a wide receiver who cannot be guarded by any DB he lines up again. At least it seems to be that way. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver or quarterback and would like to train with us this offseason, we're going to be traveling out to 7 more states across the U.S. for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. Next up on our camp tour, we are going to be coming out to Boston, Massachusetts, Cleveland, Ohio, and Austin, Texas. All 3 of those camps are sold out, but then we'll be coming out to Seattle, Washington, Newark, New Jersey, Denver, and Los Angeles. All those camps have available spots. So if you want some more information, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you out to one of our off-season camps, fellas. Let's get started with this video. So now, first thing we're going to be talking about, I'm sure all of you have seen routes from this wide receiver at some point. His name is Jameer Calvin. He's a wide receiver out of Mississippi State. His routes have gone crazy viral in the last, maybe I would say 4 to 5 months. I would say so, but his routes are everywhere. He's a wide receiver at Mississippi State, but what I didn't know, and what some of you probably don't know, is that he was at Washington State first. So this is some film from him at Washington State where he was doing pretty much the exact same thing. So let's look at this first example here. He's running this like stop and go, stutter go route against it seems to be a safety who's in off-man coverage. Now, anytime that you're running a double move versus off-man coverage, it's tough to get this DB to try to crash on it, whether you're running, a sluggo, whether you're running a stop and go like he runs here, maybe you're running a post corner, but we have to get this DB to fully commit to crash so we could get separation over the top. Now, there are 3 minor details, or not minor details, but 3 details that go into running a successful stutter go or stop and go. Number 1, when you guys actually stop yourself, it cannot just be a chatter of your feet and a chatter of your hands. You guys actually have to change levels and sit your butt down. The way I think of running a stop and go is think of it like, like a child game of like musical chairs. When you're playing musical chairs as a kid, I'm sure all of you have played that or have seen somebody play that before. When the music stops, right? What do? You sit in the chair as fast as you can. And you don't sit slowly. You don't, sit with your chest leaning forward. You sit your butt down right in a chair as quick as you can. That's how you want to think about a stutter go or a hitch and go. You're about to get into this break and you got to sit down. Now, the reason why you want to sit down is 2 reasons. Number 1, it slows you down. It slows you down in place. And when you change that speed, that's more likely for a DB to crash. So many wide receivers just think it's a chatter of their feet and their hands. That's not enough to get a good disciplined DB to crash down. You got to actually sit down and stop yourself. Now, another reason you want to do it is because a DB in man coverage or a safety who's maybe off, where are his eyes supposed to be? His eyes are supposed to be watching your hips. So if he sees your hips sit down, he is more likely to crash down. So that's why we do it. Now, second key to running a good double move is you have to be in a position to accelerate out so you could get up into the second portion of the break. So if you're running a hitch and go, you guys should not break on your heels. You guys do not want to sit back too much where your chest is up in the air and your weight is distributed on like the back half of your body. You guys want to sit down, but keep the weight on the ball of your foot so you can re-accelerate up and explode up to widen yourself from the DB and keep that separation that you gained on that stutter portion of the move. Now, third thing is you got to keep your head down to separate. So many wide receivers will run a double move, like let's say a sluggo, because that's an easy one to understand, like a slant and go. They'll get the DB to crash on the slant, they break up to the go, and they look back for the ball right away. That just slows you down. You got to keep your head down and separate from the DB. On a double move, I promise you this, a quarterback is going to put the ball out there. He is not going to underthrow it. He's going to throw it early. Well, listen, some of your quarterbacks might underthrow it, but if a quarterback knows what he's doing, he's going to put that ball out there. So keep your head down. Let's widen the distance from this DB. Even he got this DB to stumble and fall, but he still kept his head down because you got to understand DBs will work on their recovery speed. And when they know they got beat, they will do everything possible to try to recover. So let's keep that head down. Let's widen the gap and finish that play. So that's a great route here from Calvin. Again, all of his routes, any of his route miss, I highly recommend you look up his film because it is complete teach tape when he is at Mississippi State. And I didn't even know he went to Washington State where he did the exact same thing like we said. So now, the next route we're going to be talking about here is a peek back move or a peek back out route, if you will. So this is a great move for honestly any outside breaking route. I love it, especially on the goal line, because it really can get this DB to think that you're running a quick goal line fade. So let's watch this thing full speed, then we'll break it down. So he comes off, attacks this DB, gives a little peek, gets him to think fade, and then is able to lose him on that out route. Again, very sudden, very twitchy, and a very calculated route runner. I think a lot of people just assume assume the wide receiver position is all about, speed, quickness, and explosion. And it is. Those are very, very important aspects of the position. However, if you don't know how to use it or when to use it at a certain level, running around guys will not work. You see it all the time. You see these, top tier recruits, and it's noticeable too, like, on their highlight tapes, because we watch a lot of film here. And, 4-star guys, 5-star guys, 3-star guys even, who are going to these big schools, but on their film, it just looks like they're running around guys. They're just bigger and faster than them. At a certain point, you're going to find a DB, especially at this Power 5 level, that is just as fast and just as big, and that's not going to fly. So how are you going to get separation? And it's about being calculated. It's about knowing how to structure your routes. So coming up to the line, he sees you got this DB in a catch technique on the goal line, which means, he's about maybe 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 yards away. He's inside shade, and when he's on the goal line, he is not going to backpedal. So he comes off the ball. Number one thing we have to do is close the space. We don't want to try to just run around this DB, because that's exactly what he wants us to do. When he's inside leverage, his goal is to prevent the inside route. So let's close the space with him a little bit and at least make him think I'm going inside. Get him to hold that leverage. So then he bursts up to the outside. Now, on the goal line, this DB is always going to be threatened of that quick fade over the shoulder jump ball. Nobody wants to get beat by that. So that's where your peek back move comes into play. So you see how Calvin, he gives this little glance over his inside shoulder, but notice how he's not leaning back. He's not chopping his stride. He's not losing speed. That's what you want to do on that peek back move. So many wide receivers do this peek back and they'll do it incorrectly. They will look like all the way back to the quarterback, lean back, which shortens their stride. It pops their chest up. And that's the biggest indicator that you can give to a DB that a break is about to happen. When you guys do a peek back move, it should be just like this. It should just be a quick, sudden cut where you can leave that DB and separate. And your eyes got him to be greedy and think that this fade was coming, maybe, like a dig, something over the inside, or something like to the back corner of the end zone. And that's where we get separation and can lose this guy, fellas. But if we do that peek back and we start to slow down, lean back, chop the stride, it's a dead giveaway. A break's coming and you're not running a fade. So this is a textbook peek back move here. Could he have probably attacked the leverage of the DB off the line a little more? Absolutely, just because that makes it look more like a goal line fade. But nonetheless, that peek back is a great way to get space. Now, do you have to use that only on out routes? No, you could use it on a corner. You could use it on a comeback. I've seen some people use it on a dig. Also, if you want to be really creative, you could use it on a dig. Only like it on the goal line, though. You come out, you attack him, you give him this little peek back move right here, and then you maybe hit like not just a one single cut, you hit a 1-2. You go left, right, he thinks fade, then we lose him on a dig. I've seen that used before, and it works really, really well, but just make sure. Normally, it's only for outside breaking routes when you have an outside release. Let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job by Calvin closing space, peeking back, and then leaving that DB. So now, this next example here, this is a little tough to see at first, but he is on the right side of the field. So this is the right hash, and the left hash is somewhere over here to the left. So he is going to be running a post route versus inside shade off man coverage. Now, a lot of people ask this question: how would I run a post versus inside shade off man? DB is sitting right where I'm supposed to break. What do I do to get space? Now, we got to understand that, press coverage, off-man coverage, zone coverage, the DB's leverage tells us everything about what he's trying to do. So he's lined up inside leverage here, right? Which means he's like shaded to the inside. He's lined up to the inside of us, right? That tells me he doesn't want to give up the inside route, right? He wants to prevent us from running a post, prevent us from running a dig. And if we go and run at him and attack his leverage, he is going to do whatever possible to keep his leverage and still prevent the inside route. So a lot of wide receivers will come up and they'll see this look, and their number one goal is, okay, I'm going to square him up, attack his midline, and he's going to backpedal, then I'm going to break in front of him. But what if he doesn't do that? What if you square him up and attack him and he does something called a weave, which is pretty much like an angled backpedal? You're going to run your post right into him. Your plan's over. So what you would want to do is, because again, at the end of the day, this is still man coverage. You want to threaten him with a fade by attacking his outside shoulder and his outside hip. And that's exactly what Calvin does here. He comes off the ball, and you see how he's pushing vertical, gets that DB to jump, and he still has space to accelerate out on that post because he didn't stem way to the inside. Because like I said, like you stem to the inside, this DB keeps his leverage. You might be able to break in front of him, but you're going to catch the ball on the opposite hash pretty much. And in a real game, that's not going to fly. In a real game, like let's say, for example, you're running a post route, and let's say, the receiver in the slot is running a dig. If your post post route ends up being over here and you're like maybe 2-3 yards away from the dig, that is horrible spacing on a play. And the quarterback is not going to be able to make a read because one defender will be able to play 2 routes. You have to give him space. So by giving him space, you can give him space by attacking that shoulder and attacking that hip. That is what's going to flip him. But when you attack that shoulder and hip, you got to make sure you're selling fade. So there are 3 key elements to selling fade on a route. Number 1, you got to run hard. This is what so many wide receivers don't get. They run their routes because they're thinking about too much, and they slow themselves way down. Guys, the number 1 thing on all your routes, you got to run hard. Yes, you can change tempo at times. Yes, you can give like a little hesitation, then go into a route. But at the end of the day, you got to run hard. Number 2, you got to commit your hips and your shoulders, aka body language. So many wide receivers, when it's this situation, attack the outside shoulder, before they make this cut, they will start to turn their hip and turn their shoulder, telegraphing that they're about to break to the inside. And that's the easiest way to get DB to sit, and we run right into him. So you got to make sure that we commit. Hips, shoulders, everything is at that outside shoulder. And then last but not least, your stride. Because if you run up to a DB and let's say you're breaking at 10 yards, but right at 8 yards, you start taking these short, choppy steps, dude, he's going to lock that up. He knows exactly what is coming. So you got to make sure we maintain stride, maintain speed, maintain body language to get him to flip, and so we could separate and maintain spacing on the play. 2 keys, fellas, separation and spacing. Because when you have spacing, the quarterback can throw you open even more than we already separated by running the route correctly. So Calvin, again, fellas, one of the best route runners I feel in college football. No DBs can seem to guard him and lock him up. I haven't seen a clip where he's been locked up yet. And like I said, if you guys haven't seen his Mississippi State film, it's absolutely insane. I didn't even know he played at Washington State. And so this is great film for us to see because this is new film and it proves all of the same concepts that we teach over and over again on this channel. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like to come out and train with us in 7 more states this offseason, we're coming out to Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Seattle, Newark, Denver, and Los Angeles. First 3 camps, or next 3 camps, I should say, are already sold out. We've sold out every single camp that we've been to, and these camps will sell out within the next month or so. So, fellas, very first link in that description below. We'd love to get you out there. I'll see you guys next time.